as a blockchain developer, you have to know the data structure of transactions. So when you will sit for the interview, your interviewer will ask you definitely this question to test your level of understanding about the transaction and what is the data we have in this particular transaction. So you will get this filled and he's going to ask you that what data it contained, no matter you are running your contract on the Polygon, Ethereum or Solana. It's very important that you have to know that what data in each one of these fields you will have and how you can decode that to utilize and verify the blocks and build app on top of that. So in this video, we'll talk about the structure of transaction in general about all the blockchains, and we'll try to understand that what data it contains when you do any transaction. So you know that whenever you make any transaction on the blockchains and the output you will get, the data structure you will get, that's the unique identification of your transaction, and that's the data is going to be stored on the blockchain inside the block. If we talk about the data structure of the transaction, you can see in the list that we have nuance, we have gas price, we have gas limit, we have recipients, we have value, we have data, we have VRS. So we have all of this field in this particular transaction, which you will do no matter you will create NFT, you will transfer funds, or you will deploy any contract. This is the exact output you will get. So we have to know that what data we have in each one of these fields and how we can decode that. So let's go into deep and understand each one of these fields. Whatever interview I have taken so far, these are the basic questions I generally ask them, and almost 60% of them fail to answer this question. So that's why I decided to make a video to let's talk about it, that what data we have and how we can utilize that one. Gas price. So whenever you do any transaction on Ethereum blockchain or any blockchain, you have to pay some amount of money in their native currency. So if you talk about the Ethereum, there we have GUI, and you will pay the gas price in GUI to make the transaction. And this particular money you are paying as a gas fee, that will go to the miner and validator, those who are validating your transaction on the chain. Gas limit. Many of you are confused at what is gas price and what is gas limit. As the name suggests, that you can specify a specific amount of gas which you are willing to pay for making a transaction. So sometime you have seen that when we are doing any transaction on Ethereum blockchain, sometime our transaction takes a little bit time, and you get an option in the MetaMask to speed up your transaction by paying extra gas fee. And gas limit is totally upon you to set for making the transaction. So when you will set the low gas price, your transaction will decline, and the gas you have paid for making the transaction, that will be refunded to your account. But when you will set the higher gas price for making the transaction and the gas is needed less amount for making the transaction, so whatever amount is left, that will be refunded back to you in your wallet address. And that's the minor difference you will have in the gas limit and the gas price. Recipient. So generally we have two different type of recipient. One is called EOA, external own account, and the second one we have is contract address. So I'm the user, I have my wallet address on Ethereum blockchain, so I will come under EOA, external own account, because I'm an individual one who can make the transaction. But on the other hand, we have a contract address. So just imagine that we have deployed any contract on the blockchains, and that particular contract will have its address. And the only difference you will find on the contract address and the EOA makes external own account. The external own account means individual account can have the private key, but contract address cannot have the private key. So this is the major difference you will find, that contract address will not have the private key, but the external own account individual address will have the private key, and that's how we can differentiate value. Majority of you are really confused between gas price and the value. So you can make the transaction, make a function call in the smart contract without passing any value, without passing any amount of ether or a Mati coin or whatever coin, whatever blockchain you are using. You can make the transaction without passing any value, but you have to pay gas fee for that. And when you want to pass the value, means if you want to transfer a fund from account A to account B, or maybe account A to contract address, you can do that by passing the value. Okay, so it's totally up to you and depend on the function calls and depend on the contract which you are interacting with. Okay, so that's the thing you have to understand. You can send the value, but it's optional. It's depend on the contract and the nature of the contract, that what kind of services and the feature is provided. But gas is mandatory, that you have to pay whenever you want to make any transaction on the blockchain. So you have to pay gas fee for that. Now you can store data on the blockchain. So if you talk about Bitcoin, there is no feature of storing information on the blockchain, but you can do the crypto trading. But here in Ethereum, Polygon, Solana, you can store information. And every single transaction can contain information depending on the function call and execution call. So when you will do a normal transaction from an individual wallet to another wallet, and that the data would be like keeping the amount of money you have transferred, these kind of data. But you can actually store information, like if you are storing information about the property, NFT, or any digital assets, you can keep that information in that particular transaction in the data field. And the last one we have in the transaction data structure is called VRS. It's a part of a digital signature for the transaction, comes under ECDSA, stand for Eclipsed Curve Digital Signature Algorithm, which can contain a lot of information about that particular transaction to assign with all the data which you have provided in that particular transactions. So these are the important data structure which you have to know as a blockchain developer, because when you will sit for the interview, they're going to ask you these kind of things, that what information we have in digital, in VRS, in the data field, in the value field, what is gas limit, what is gas price, what is nuances, what is proof of work nuance, what is transaction nuance. You have to know all of these things. So I believe that you guys have understood that what is this data structure of a transaction and what data you will have in each one of this field whenever you do the transaction, and why this particular variables which is coming and taking place in those places, what it stands for. So that's the only thing I want to talk about, because many of you are asking me this question, interview related question. So I thought let's start. So I believe that you guys are following the real estate DApp project, because make sure to follow that, and that's one of the powerful projects which you can include in your portfolio, and that will help you to land in a real world project and get an internship and job. Okay, so that's the only thing I want to talk about. And if you haven't watched the playlist, make sure to access the complete playlist and go over the entire videos which I have published so far on that particular project. So that's the only thing I want to talk about in this video. Hope you guys have found this video valuable. If you still have any confusion, any doubt, do let me know in the comment section. I would love to help you in that. And if you're new to my channel, hit like and subscribe.